Welcome to your in-depth astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 7th of October. I'm going to give you some standout details to begin with. Then on screen, I'm going to share the event chart. That always provides a backdrop for the following 7 days. Then as the week unfolds, all the key influences, and then I'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what to expect. This week sees Jupiter, the planet of fortune, the greater benefic, go into its annual 4-month retrograde. But in the sign of Gemini, Jupiter is not at its best. It's debilitated. So what it's asking us to do through this retrograde is be a little bit more introspective, but particularly about how we think and express information, because Jupiter can be about philosophies and the host Gemini can be about communication. But ironically, right at the start of this week, Jupiter forges a brilliant link to Mercury, and that mutual receptivity suggests if we're trying to buy or sell anything or promote something, we can do so with conviction. And later in the week, Jupiter forges an awesome link with the Sun, one of astrology's best. The trine is very enabling. So whilst it's important to understand that Jupiter's slowing down and now retrograding, does ask us to think very carefully about what we're discussing. There are still positive potentials. But this is a week which begins with the Sun in an awkward angle to Saturn. This started to build up last week through the solar eclipse. Saturn in the sign of Pisces is coming to the end of its big journey, which began about 28.5 years ago. It will culminate next year before moving into the sign of Aries fully at the very start of 2026. Saturn can be about karma, and the sign of Pisces can be about culmination. If there has been some awkward history around your relationships that isn't quite processed, it might show itself in a current relationship now. So just be conscious of that. Then later in the week, the Sun gets into a right angle with Mars, the ruler of Aries, but located at the present in the tender water sign of Cancer. It's possible that even around family relationships, energies which have been hidden away could come more into the open. But when it comes to money and romance, the opposition between Venus and Uranus at the end of this week could see some sudden and impulsive but exciting developments. If there is something that captures our attention, we may find it difficult to resist. But equally, it can be the same in terms of someone we're attracted to. But in an existing relationship, if there are differences over money, or someone feels that the other person is being a bit possessive or controlling, those energies can burst into the open. Now on Saturday, as the week draws to a close, Pluto ends a retrograde which began at the start of May. Pluto, the planet of consequences and outcomes, but also of transformations, is going to be moving back into Aquarius on the 19th of November. But this last phase out of retrograde in Capricorn sees the outcome of a lot of things that have evolved for us all collectively since 2008. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the week. As ever, we need to be mindful of the 2 luminaries. The Sun is in the second decan of Libra at 14 degrees, and that's sub-ruled by the steady Eddy Saturn. But the Moon is in the free-spirited sign of Sagittarius. So that's right at the start of this week. But I think it's important to be mindful of the angle between Venus and Mars. It's terrific, but if we think these 2 planets of relating are not in their best locations, Mars is in its fall in Cancer and Venus is detrimented. But what they're asking us when it comes to how we interact with people, that we are mindful of how it feels, and that's coming from Mars. But also that angle between Saturn and the Sun, you can see at 13 degrees going back to the Sun at 14, that quincunx. It's nearly exact. It's just gone beyond exact as the Sun stepped forwards at the end of last week. And as I say, if there's any legacy issues that we've yet to work through, that may be something else we do need to consider at the start of this week. But I mentioned about Jupiter's link with Mercury. So as Mercury moves forwards this week, that link's terrific. Jupiter can be about trade and Mercury can be about marketing. And Mercury in the sign of Libra is very much about how we link to create the deal, the partnership. And obviously Jupiter in Gemini is about the message. Jupiter slowing down from Wednesday even more in its retrograde, which goes on through to the 4th of February next year, is going to see it retrace its steps by 10 degrees. So from 21 back to 11. So it means that at the moment, Jupiter's in the 3rd decan of the sign of Gemini, which is sub-ruled by Saturn, but it's going to rewind back into the 2nd decan ruled by Venus. So Venus can be about relating, it can be about money. It's going to be a big part of Jupiter's influence through the retrograde across those 4 months. But we do have, at the end of this week, a very powerful standoff between the Sun and Mars. Because Mars in Cancer, which is a cardinal sign, competes with the energy of the Sun in Libra, also cardinal. The Sun in Libra wants to find that equilibrium, but the position of Mars in Cancer can be moody, prickly, defensive, and a little bit unpredictable. And it's possible around family relationships that if there have been some tensions that have been driven a little bit out of sight, they could come to the fore, not least because Mercury clashes with Pluto at the end of this week, so there can be some sharp observations or conversations. Also, as the week draws to a close, the fact that Pluto comes out of its long retrograde, that opposition between Venus and Uranus can be exciting but unpredictable. For example, it could see someone want to break free of a relationship which they feel is weighing them down. It's limiting their scope to be themselves, to do what they want. So anything to do with possessiveness, control, can be an issue there. But equally, it can see us suddenly decide to splash out on something we've long desired. Or is it going to be the case that some kind of dynamic, exciting, but not long-lasting fling is in the works? It's all over to you in terms of how it plays out for you. I'm going to go through each of the 12 signs now. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for joining me. If you sub, I really appreciate it. Please check out my year 2025 personal horoscope forecast promotion. If you order now, you get the rest of 24 free. My special package will also give you 30% off and your life roadmap report. Each of these is totally unique for the person it's produced for, and will give you searing insights into the patterns that have played out in your life so far, how to work with them better, but also how to plan the next 18 months or so. Please see below for more. Welcome Aries to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you searing insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. So as ever, Aries, we need to be mindful of the role of your ruler Mars. Mars in the sign of Cancer, not its greatest location, but does forge a very lovely link with Venus at the start of this week. Venus can be about our approach to more decorative interests, whether it's how we have our homes, the furnishings we buy. Of course it can be about romance, but it can also be about money. But if there has been something you've been working towards around a property matter, the link between Mars and Venus at the start of this week can be very helpful. Now later in the week, Mars does go into mortal combat with the Sun. That square off can make people very impatient, and easily frustrated. And for you, it may see you unusually sensitive if people see things in a different way. Now, the Sun does continue its journey along with Mercury and the South Node in the sign of equilibrium, and therefore there is an opportunity to try to find an accord with others. But if you are in a long-standing relationship, it doesn't matter if it's with a colleague, a friend, even a family member, and there has been something from the past that never really truly got settled or resolved, you could find that that eats away at you a little bit more this week. Now, of course, Jupiter is going to be going retrograde at the heart of the week, but there's no doubt about it. Your words can carry a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of inspiration in the first half of this week, as Jupiter links brilliantly with Mercury. In fact, your playful side can come out with that combination. But Jupiter's retrograde through to the 4th of February next year does suggest that if you are thinking about a new mode of transport, some new technology, starting your own website, or spending money on anything that's already ongoing, things may not go quite as fast as you would like. But it's important with Jupiter to understand that in Gemini it's not at its best anyway. And Jupiter retrograde asks us to think inwards for solutions, not necessarily be looking outwards for lucky breaks and pieces of fortune. Now, as the week goes on, the Sun actually forges a terrific link with Jupiter, mirroring that of Mercury before. So it's your relationships, particularly relationships where you really feel that you can be yourself, your natural up vibe is going to be received in the way that you want. So your connections with others that are positive can really take a step forwards this week. The relationships that aren't so good, and maybe it is where the emotional dimension is in some way inhibited or blocked, those are the ones that could surprise you. But you may find later in the week that you do want to do something a little bit impulsive, and it may be to splash out perhaps on some fashion items, some music, a big ticket item that's really been captivating you. Or if you're single, is there someone you're chatting with who's really making your pulse race? Because if there is, there's part of you that may want to walk a little bit more on the wild side as this week draws to a close. But Pluto going direct is definitely something to savour. If you've been trying to bring to the boil something around your career which you've been working on very, very hard since 2008, you've got a terrific window of opportunity through to the 19th of November. So put the proverbial foot to the floor, because it can bring you some rewards. Have a great week, Aries. Take care and goodbye. Welcome, Taurus, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. The Sun's angle to Saturn at the start of this week suggests if you're trying to make a move towards a long-term plan, it may not be going quite as quickly as you would like, and small snags can creep in. The Sun and Mercury are asking you to focus on the details, but Mercury actually forges a very strong link to Jupiter at the start of this week, and if you can, you may squeeze more out of your budget or be very shrewd about a purchase. Jupiter, of course, is going retrograde on Wednesday, and for you it is in your sector of everyday money. So through to the 4th of February next year, you might think, well, is that going to be bad fortune, Patrick, around my income? Well, I don't feel so, but I do feel that if you've been approaching Jupiter in Gemini in the sense of expecting everything to fall into your lap, then perhaps Jupiter going retrograde is a nudge to try to find the inner resources to improve your situation. Jupiter can kid us, therefore, into taking things for granted, just at the moment when we need to really keep the endeavour and the application going. And that's the energy that Saturn is asking you to work with. Now, as the week goes on, Venus in your opposite sign, your ruler, is going into an electric opposition with Uranus. If you're feeling, particularly around your love life, in a live-in relationship, that the partner doesn't pull their weight around the domestic sphere, or their job isn't one that you particularly feel is going to contribute in a significant way, maybe there is going to be some frank discussions, particularly with Mars going into a very strident right angle with the Sun at the end of the week, and Mercury a right angle with Pluto. If you do have those heart-to-hearts, you do have an opportunity to clear the air. And I feel that Pluto's retrograde, particularly through the sign of Capricorn from the 2nd of September, maybe has seen you a little bit frustrated if things haven't been moving in quite the way you want or at quite the speed you'd like. But you have a chance, as this week draws to a close, with the Sun forging a fantastic link to Jupiter, to use all that hard work and part of your nature which really appreciates seeing tangible outcomes. You could, despite the retrograde to Jupiter, end this week very much on top. But it will be important to handle your frustration. And if there are people in your network or your world who are energetically not so good for you, just be conscious that the Sun and Mercury in your 6th house is asking you to keep your everyday world working as smoothly as possible. So if there are a lot of demands from people who are not really contributing, then you're being asked to cut through that and focus on what's really essential. Have a great week, Taurus. Take care and goodbye. Welcome, Gemini, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. This week Jupiter goes retrograde in your sign for the next 4 months. Jupiter has been assisting you since the end of May to be more expansive, but it has come under a certain amount of duress, not least the right angle with Saturn, so it may not have all been plain sailing. Jupiter slowing down suggests that you may have to look inwards and dig out those resources if you are really determined to go forwards with a new plan or to inject an ongoing scheme with greater vibrancy. But you can do it. And this week begins with your ruler Mercury supporting Jupiter in a spectacular way. So have total confidence. Don't be put off by Jupiter's retrograde. Also by the end of this week, Jupiter aligns with the Sun. It's going to reach a peak at the start of the following week from this one, but be assured that combination, the trine, is one of astrology's most dynamic. So if there is something you've been working on since the end of May or further back that's really important to you, one big push this week can see you get over the finishing line. Also, Pluto, the planet of truth and transformation, goes into forward motion as this week draws to a close. If there has been some financial issues that you've been tying up the loose ends on, you're going to get greater clarity emerge by the 19th of November. But this week does see Venus and Uranus in an opposition. And if you're single, it may be that you're going to hear from someone from your past. There could even be a little bit of a flirtation with someone you work with. But in an existing relationship, an issue that you may have thought was part could be brought up by your partner again, so just be prepared for it. Have a great week, Gemini. Take care and goodbye. Welcome Cancer to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. You often can be counted upon to support others through difficult situations. But if a situation has become almost a permanent expectation for you to somehow solve something that someone's not taken enough responsibility for, this can be the week that you start to push back. Not least with Saturn in an obtuse angle with the Sun early in the week. If you feel your personal freedoms are being too crowded, that could be something that irks. Now Jupiter goes retrograde at the heart of this week for the following 4 months, but Jupiter has been giving you some deeper understandings, some profound insights since the end of May, and it's going to give you even more over this next 4 months. And it actually forges a terrific angle to the Sun by the end of this week. So how you view things can go through a shift, but in a very positive way. But Mars in your sign clashes with the Sun. And if that person who has been perhaps taking liberties is becoming just a little bit too used to it, you can find yourself being much more determined to assert your boundaries as this week draws to a close, not least with Pluto, the planet of transformation, in your sector of relating, going direct by the end of the week. But also towards the end of this week, Venus and Uranus are dancing in an opposition. That gives you the desire to be more spontaneous. If you're single, it could be that you're going to head out with some friends and have a really sociable night, but you may do it all off the cuff. If you're involved in an existing relationship, you may want some space to do your own thing, or perhaps it's an opportunity to recreate that spark when you first met, but it requires each of you to pitch in. And if that other person is not really giving you the support you deserve, you may not be so inclined to spend time with them. If it's someone else who's been too demanding, getting together with your partner can, however, be the perfect antidote to some of these more worldly pressures and demands. Have a great week, Cancer. Take care. Welcome Leo to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. The sparkling alliance of the Sun and Mercury in the part of your situation to do with expressing ideas can certainly continue to give you lots of opportunities, not least that Jupiter, the planet of enthusiasm and confidence, is applying really positively to both. If you are trying to reach out to people or one particular person, Jupiter's link with Mercury in the first half of the week can give you that extra sense of self-belief to go for it. But later in the week, Jupiter goes into a retrograde for the next 4 months. Ever since Jupiter moved into your 11th house towards the end of May, your expectations around certain situations may have gone up. But that doesn't mean to say that you've been wrong to have them, but you are going to be checking out whether some of them are truly right for you through to the 4th of February next year. But despite this, the Sun's link with Jupiter towards the end of this week is one of astrology's finest. And it's possible that the conversation you have with a friend or someone who you share a similar set of ideas with can really give you a serious sense of uplift. But ironically, This could also be the week, particularly by the end of the week, when you realise that someone else is not in your corner in the same way that you'd like. But the way that this can come about can actually be quite uncomfortable. And that's because Mars clashes with the Sun and something can suddenly burst into the open. Also with Uranus and Venus in a very direct opposition, even if you are trying to cast your net in a new way professionally, there are going to be some home and emotional issues which you may need to balance too. But overall, this week, despite that Jupiter retrograde, gives you a lot of opportunities to showcase your talents, your ideas, but most of all, Leo, your innate charisma and personality. Have a great week. Welcome Virgo to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. Most modern astrologers avoid linking the subject with pure luck. That old maxim of the harder we work, the luckier we get is one that I certainly can relate to. Of course, the astrology helps us to time things, and that's what this week's message is very much about. If you have a goal or ambition that you really want to push on with, you need to have maximum confidence this week because there is a great opportunity for you to have a breakthrough. Now, Jupiter, the planet of fortune, the greater benefit, goes into a retrograde midweek. So you may be thinking, why would that be? But your ruler Mercury, Virgo, and also the Sun both link brilliantly to Jupiter this week. So it's all down to countering that side of your nature which can be innately cautious, or perhaps worry somewhat about the smaller details. What Jupiter's asking you to do, despite its retrograde, is to think big, aim high, but most of all maintain your absolute confidence in what you're trying to do. Now, Saturn does continue its journey in your 7th house, so don't necessarily expect everyone to buy in to what you're trying to do, particularly a partner and particularly around your finances. But by the end of this week, as Uranus and Venus go into a dramatic opposition, your creativity, but also the ability to see something in a new and fresh way, are certainly going to be heightened. What about Mars? Well, Mars is in your sector of friendship, and it's true that it does square up to the Sun by the end of this week. If there is someone that you've been linking with that has a very different set of values to you, it could become much more obvious between you. But that doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't stay resolutely single-minded in terms of working towards a goal that you want to reach. And it's all about that determination this week, Virgo. Have a great week. Welcome Libra to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. Last week's sensational solar eclipse in your sign gave you a wonderful opportunity to focus on the strands or situations or people that are really important to you. Because there is part of every Libran's nature that's very attuned to the needs of others. So for once, you're being asked to be not selfish, but certainly single-minded. Now this week's big news story is that Jupiter, the planet of growth and fortune, goes into a retrograde. But Jupiter still forges a fantastic link with Mercury in your sign and with the Sun too. And Jupiter's in the part of your situation to do with expansion. So whatever it is that you're really excited by, whether it is another person, whether it is a project, whether it's a business startup or a hobby, don't take your foot off the proverbial gas. This is a time to continue to make progress. Now, because Mars is in a very dominant part of your chart, it's also giving you that extra slice of self-confidence and assurance to strut your stuff. But that too may feel a little uncomfortable because it's not your usual style. Your usual style is to build up that collaboration on a piece by piece basis. However, towards the end of this week, Mars does clash with your Sun, and you could find yourself a little conflicted, but keep the faith. Pluto, which has caused so much mischief since 2008 for Librans, goes forwards in the sign of Capricorn. You've just got through to the 19th of November before Pluto returns back into your 5th house, where it's much more constructive, and it was there from the 21st of January this year through to the 2nd of September. So this is the last little slice that you need to work through. So you may find that there are some family, emotional or home-based issues that are just ends that you need to tie up. But also your ruler Venus does go face to face with Uranus towards the end of this week. It may be that you could find yourself, particularly if you're single, a little bit more carefree. If there's someone on your celestial radar, you may find yourself taking the first step forwards. Equally, you could find yourself in the mood to splash the cash, particularly if it's something that has some kind of classy dynamic to it, very much in keeping with that impeccable taste you often have. But if you are in an existing relationship and you do want to spend some money, it's probably important to run it past your partner first. Whether they're going to agree is another matter, as Mercury in your sign also squares to Pluto as the week draws to a close, which could see a tense conversation. Have a great week, Libra. Take care and goodbye. Welcome, Scorpio, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. You can be pretty canny about who you pitch in with or not. So you don't tend to rush into situations, but ever since the end of May, when Jupiter, the planet of fortune, moved into the part of your situation to do with deep alliances and commitments, you may have just felt a little more open. But Jupiter goes retrograde for the next 4 months this week, suggesting that a review may be in order. But actually, if you're working towards a financial target, a business idea, the research you do behind the scenes this week, the soundings you take, perhaps the confidential discussions you have, can actually turn out to be surprisingly positive. What can be more complex is around your love life. Saturn, the planet of limitation, forges an obtuse angle to the Sun at the start of this week. If you really feel that you've given it everything but the other person isn't, it can really make you feel quite strongly about retreating at the very least. Also, your traditional ruler Mars is in a part of your scope that's to do with freedom, independence and travel. And because the Sun and Mercury are more reflective, as Mars clashes with the Sun towards the end of this week, an issue which perhaps hasn't been fully discussed could burst into the open. And it could be a little bit uncomfortable. But you know, Venus in your sign, the planet of relating and money, does go into a face-off with Uranus. Uranus can be about innovation, but it also can be about sudden changes which we're not always expecting. And because your modern ruler Pluto goes direct on Saturday, but clashes with Mercury in that very discrete part of your chart, I just feel that you might be surprised by what you learn by the end of this week. But if you are going through some kind of review, whether it's around a friendship, an interest you have, a long-term plan, or that romance, by the end of this week, you'll have so much more information in order to guide your longer term moves. Have a great week, Scorpio. Welcome, Sagittarius, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. Your ruler Jupiter goes into its annual 4-month retrograde this week. For you, since the end of May, it's been occupying the part of your chart to do with your connection to others. The host, Gemini, can be chatty and frivolous, but for you, Jupiter here just gives you an opportunity to connect to people in a very upbeat way. The retrograde through to the 4th of February next year could see you thinking very deeply about what you want from your closest connections. But this week has a split dynamic to it. Certain associations which are working well for you can go from strength to strength. Mercury forges an amazing link to Jupiter early on, the Sun later in the week, and both of those are cheering you on. But also Saturn forges an awkward angle to the Sun, as does Mars. If you don't align to someone so well emotionally, or there is differences around long-term finances, and also with Pluto going direct at the end of the week, but in a tense right angle with Mercury, if there have been irritations, they could come into the open. And with Venus, the planet of relating, in a very thoughtful, private part of your chart, but confronted by the electric, disruptive energies of Uranus, if there is a weakness, it's going to come out this week. If there's a strength, it's going to come forwards, but it won't be because of Jupiter's retrograde. Have a great week, Sagittarius. Take care. And goodbye for now. Welcome, Capricorn, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. My special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. This week, Jupiter, the planet of growth, goes into a retrograde, but Jupiter's in the part of your situation to do with life's everyday practicalities. And whether it is around your health regime, what you eat and drink, the amount of exercise you have, the amount of time you spend working, all of those things can come under review through to the 4th of February next year. But Jupiter going retrograde doesn't make you set to be unlucky. And in fact, if you're really clear-minded around your goals and ambitions, there can be a big prize that you can seize this week. And that's because Mercury forges a terrific link with Jupiter early in the week and the Sun later in the week. And they're both continuing their presence in the part of your chart to do with raising your profile. So your ability to connect with those movers and shakers is definitely increased. The only caveat I would say is that if you're working in an environment where you feel that your talents aren't recognised, you feel thwarted, that could create quite a lot of frustration this week. Saturn forges a tense link with the Sun at the start of the week, Mars in your opposite sign at the end of the week. And also, Venus in your 11th house, which can be very playful and sociable, goes face to face with Uranus. But if there's not much mirth where you work, it could see you thinking again too. Now Pluto goes direct in your sign as the week draws to a close, but that too clashes with Mercury. So your professional situation, if it is set fair, can definitely take a step forwards. But if it is caught up with office politics and it's not really the most comfortable place to be, the best thing you can do is look round for new opportunities where you can showcase your talents. But that opposition between Venus and Uranus could lead to a surprise invitation to go out and have some fun. And if you do mix and mingle with some friends or go on a date, it could be just the tonic you need. Have a great week, Capricorn. Take care and goodbye. Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. Our special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. There's an astrological energy this week, Aquarius, which is pushing, prompting you to shake things up, be more spontaneous, do something off the cuff, break out in some way, broaden your horizons. And it's being driven in part by Jupiter, the planet which is very much to do with those threads. But ironically, Jupiter goes into a retrograde at the heart of this week. Does it make it a bad time to be more dynamic like this? No. What Jupiter retrograde is going to ask you to do through to the 4th of February next year is think about the things that bring you the maximum amount of joy and enjoyment, but perhaps think about them a little deeper. The energies this week of escapism and pleasure are certainly still there, but they do need to compete with more restraining influences. Your traditional ruler Saturn at the start of the week is asking you to be mindful of expenditure. Mars at the end of the week asking you to juggle the need for freedom with the commitments you have. But Venus is high in the sky, and if there is a situation professionally that you want to make progress towards, something quite dynamic but unexpected can suddenly occur. And your preparedness to do something more daring and different can be just what catches someone's imagination. Also, Pluto at the end of this week ends its retrograde in a deeply psychological area where it's been since the 2nd of September. If you have been a little bit down in energy, in motivation and spirit since then, you're going to feel a pickup, but you'll feel the greatest pickup from the 19th of November when Pluto returns to Aquarius for a very long time. Have a great week, Aquarius. Take care and goodbye. Welcome Pisces to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 7th of October for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. If you've yet to order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast, if you do so now, you'll get the rest of year 2024 free. Our special package also offers 30% off and your life roadmap report. The combination of all this information will give you Syrian insights to guide your moves, is great value and totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see below for more. The location of Mercury and the Sun continues in your 8th house. That's where the solar eclipse was last week. That's where we're most deeply invested, emotionally or financially. It can also be our closest, most intimate connections, but also it can be a part of life which sees transformations. But the financial side of the 8th house is blessed this week by the gift of Jupiter. Now Jupiter, your co-ruler, does go retrograde, but it's forging a terrific link with Mercury and also the Sun. If you have been trying to work through to a completion, a house purchase, a rental, or some kind of financial transaction, good news can emerge. But also the 8th house is where if we don't feel we're getting the level of commitment we're investing back, it's not reciprocated, we can think of making a change. And Venus, the planet of relating, is in a part of your chart which sees you determined to get to the truth of the matter. Now, there could be quite a frank conversation towards the end of this week. And also Mars, the planet of desire, is in a right angle with the Sun. If you are single, that could see you desirous, particularly with Venus and Uranus in an opposition, of getting together with someone and getting up close and personal. But if a long-term relationship isn't quite working, I feel that Jupiter going retrograde on Wednesday is going to see you assess very carefully whether this tie is for the long term. But by the end of this week, as Pluto goes direct, your long-term planning can be clarified, particularly by the 19th of November. So all these themes, you're going to be much clearer by that point. Have a great week, Pisces. Take care and goodbye.